Hello everyone, I'm Ram Karki, and in this video I'll show you how the decision tree works for the following example, which is a Boolean expression. And then with the help of this data set, which is a Boolean expression, I have to predict the class with the help of the given attributes A, B, C, and D. For the class, I have to go through A, B, C, and D and their conditions. This class has 8 truths, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. I have tick marked all those truths and 8 falses. Here with the help of the decision tree, we have to gain the output for the classes, which is either true or false. Now let's start making a decision tree, and let's consider A as my first attribute. Let's just make it A here, and A has two conditions. It is either true or false. Let's do true here, and let's do false here. And A has either true and false, and the conditions for A and the conditions the conditions for true and the conditions for false. And then for that, let me write the conditions in a separate paper so that I can make a clear decision tree here. Now for A, the condition of true, and this will be the condition of false. I'll just separate it sideways. A, B, C, D, and the class A, B, C, you can see it, okay, C, D, and the CL class. Now this will be true, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. It'll be true, false, it'll be true, false, true, false, and this will be true, false. Now the conditions for all true, it will be true. For 3 truths and false, it will be false. And then true, false, true will be false. True, false is true. True, false, true is false. True, false is true. True, false, true is true. And true, false is false. Now here we have 1 2 3 4. We have 4 truths and 4 falses. Similarly for this one, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. 1 2 3 4 2 3 4. True, false, true, false. This will be true, false, true, false. Now this will be false. True will be false. False, true, false will be true. False, true, FT will be true. FF will be false. FFTT will be true. FFTF will be false. FFT will be false, and this will be true. Now here I have 1 2 3 4. Here also I have 4 falses and 4 truths. That means this is not a pure subset, so we have to further follow the division. And then in our decision tree, this has 4 truths and 4 falses. So 4 truths and 4 falses, so it has to go through another attribute. That will be attribute B. So now let's go to attribute B. Here is B, and here is also B. Now the conditions possible for attribute B is also either true or either false. And then let's see, here it will be either true or either false. Similarly, it will be either true or either false. And even for B, it has the same conditions of equal number of classes of trues and false. Now for that, I have to further divide this. Now I have to go to the attribute B. So I go to this B, I get only the trues and only the falses. So here I'll go for B, and this is further divided into 2 parts. Here this will be for true, this will be for false. This will be B, C, D, and then the class B, C, D, the class. Now it will be only the truths 1 2 3 4, and this will be true true false false. This will be true false true false, and the condition will be true 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 is true, and then true true false false, and there is false, and then this is also false, and this is true. This has two trues and two falses. Similarly for false, 1 2 3 4, true true false false, and then it will be true false true false. So this will be here false true no false true true false. That means this also has two trues and two falses. Similarly for the false of B, it is also further divided as trues and falses. It is also further divided as trues and falses. So this will also be here B C D class, B C D and the class. So there will be 1 2 3 4, and then 1 2 3 4, and the other one is 1 2 3 4, and this will be true true false false, true true false false, true false true false, true false true false. Now the conditions given is it will be here false true true false, and then it will be true false false true, true false false true. That means there are two trues and two falses. Now this also makes it doesn't make it as a pure subset, so it has to further go the division. So this has how many? Two trues and two falses, and this also has two trues and two falses. This two has two trues and two falses. This two has two trues and two falses. So it has to further go the division. For the division, now we have to get another attribute, which is the C attribute. Now it has to further divide it into C attribute. All this has to go through C attribute, and the two conditions possible for C attributes are true and false. This is here true and false, true and false, and then true and false, and then true and false. Now here is the page again. Now this condition here is divided into two, which is C. This is divided into again two parts, that is either true and then false, true or false. And this one also it goes to C, and it is divided as true and false. And this is also divided as C. It is also divided as true and false, and this is also divided as true and false, this way. True and false. Now what happens is like the true, now we have to go for C. There are true conditions 2, and then let's do it C D C L, C D C L, C D DCL, CDCL. Now we are only taking attributes C and D. We are already taken A here in the top side, A, then we are taking B here. Now only C and D here. Now here to CDCL, 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 CDCL. Now what happens for the C? There are two trues, true true. For the D it is true false, and the CL is true and false. There is one. And for the false, what is the condition for the false of C? False false and true false, this will be false true. This is here. Now for this side of B, for the false section of B, the C is also true true, and then it's true false, it's false true. Now for the false section it is false false, this will be true false, and then it's true and then false. This is the one here. Now from here what happens is this is also divided. Now this is the false section of A with the true section of B. True section of B coming to true. It will be true, 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 and then true, false. It will be false, true. It will be false, false, true, false, and the output is also true, false. Now the other part will be true, 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 false, and then true, false, and then the other part will be false, false, true, false. It will be false, true, false, true. Now this way we have one true and one false for all the divisions of C, for all the conditions of C. Now all of these have one true and one false. I'll just write it one true and one false at each side, and all that shows means this all the divisions these Boolean expressions have one true and one false. That means which doesn't make it a pure subset, so it has to further go the division. When it further goes the division, it has to take another attribute. It has to take another attribute. Now it is the D attribute. Now it will be the D attribute. For D attribute, now for D attribute, all this will take the D attribute. All this will take the D attribute. Yeah. Now when it takes the D attribute is also a Boolean expression. It has only two conditions. It is either true or false. So we have to give both the conditions. This is either true or either false. All these ones. It's either true or either false. This is either true or either false. All these ones either true or either false. Yeah. Now what happens is like, now here I divided C into true and false. Now it has to divide these conditions into true and false, but the condition here is when it is true, it is already given. When it is true, this is also true. Now what happens is when D is true, the class is true. Now the class is true. Now this only has one subset, thus making it a pure subset. So now we don't have to further divide it, so I'll just give an arrow and write the class. Now when D is true, the class is also true. Now when D is false, the class is also false. Now similarly here, when D is true, the class is false. Now here when now when D is false, the class is true. Now here, now comes here, when D is true, the class is false, and when D is false, the class is true. Now here, when D is true, the class is true. When D is false, the class is false. Now here, when D is true, the class is false, and when D is false, the class is true. Now when D is true, the class is true. When D is false, the class is false. When D is true, the class is true. When D is false, the class is false. Now when D is true, the class is false, and when D is false, the class is true. Now this way, what happened is like in the first step, we took the attribute A, we got 4 trues and 4 false, which shows that this was not a pure subset, so we are again further divided. And in the B, we got 2 trues and 2 false, and this was also not the pure subset, so we again further took another attribute and divided it. And here we got 1 false and 1 true, and again we divided taking attribute D. And when we took the attribute D, we got the pure subset as true, false, false, true. Here we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we can see 8 trues and 8 false. Now let's see the condition here. Let's see the condition given in this page here. What happens is like when A is true, B is true, C is true, and D is true, class is also true. Now we can see here. Now when A, now I'll show with a pencil now. Now when A is true, and then now when A is true, it comes here. B is also true, and C is also true. And what happens? D is also true, then the class will be true. That's an example, one example. This way the decision tree works. Now let's take another random example, right? When A is false, B is false, C is false, and F is false, the class is true. Now let's take all the false statement now here. Now when you can say this way, when A is false, it comes this way, B is also false, goes down this way, C is also false, goes down this way, and D is also false, the condition comes here, the class is true. This way we make a decision tree. With the help of this decision tree, we can get the class and the output in an easier way. That's all for the video. Through this video we explain all the decision tree and all the classes of this data. You can try any of this data. Okay, let's try another random one. True, when A is true, B is false, C is also false, and D is also false, the class is false. That means true, false, false, false. Now when A is true, B is false, and then C is also false. Now comes D is also false, the class is also false, it comes as false. That means this satisfies all the conditions of this data, giving the right class at the end. In this way we make a good decision tree and get the decision of this data. That's all for this video. Just wanted to make sure like this is the same guy recording the video.